Mortgage brokers ask me, how much do I need to spend to generate leads? And your answer starts with zero. And I'm going to show you how you can build a system where it works automated and works while you sleep. Hi, this is Iftikhar Mohammed and welcome to our channel AI for Mortgage Brokers. So let's start off with the free tools. What you need to do is to put down the frequently asked questions that your customers ask you. And if you're not sure, you can get the help of an AI platform like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whichever you're comfortable with to come up with these questions. Then what you do is you can build carousels, posts, and also videos around it. And when you do that, make sure that you get help from AI because that will help you streamline what you're going to tell your customer. So that is quite important. So my tip to you is start with your knowledge, get the AI to help you with fill in the gaps, and finally finish with your knowledge because otherwise your content will look very generic. So these sort of campaigns will cost you £0. Next, you have to think beyond social media. You need to work on something called GEO or Generative Engine Optimization. In the past, we worked on something called SEO or Search Engine Optimization. That worked on the concept of keywords as well as making sure you have backlinks that work for you. But with Generative Engine Optimization, they look at something called EEAT. So EEAT stands for Experience, Expertise, Authority, and Trust. So you need to prove to these AI platforms that you have all these four elements. That's when your name will be visible. For this to work, you need to work on your Google profile. You also need to work on a platform like Trustpilot or FIFO. Also, you need to work on platforms like Reddit, which will get you right up there. Now, this is where things start to get really interesting. So now your social media works, now your website works, and you'll start getting leads very slowly. So when you get a lead in, it's very important that you call your customer right away because tomorrow morning they might not be interested. Today, if I have a customer inquiry, even at 8 o'clock in the evening, I have a tool called AutoBook. AutoBook will call the customer, ask some basic questions which I've programmed it to ask, and it will book an appointment in my diary. So tomorrow morning, when I have to call the customer, it will tell me everything I need to know about the customer, and it will make that call very simple. And if you have leads that you don't want to work with, AutoBook can screen that for you. So you had inquiries coming from your website, you had inquiries coming from social media, and you had an AI agent calling the customer. And we can now automate this. That call could lead to an email, that call could lead to a follow-up after 3 months, that call could also lead to newsletters. All of this can be automated. And that's the next stage. You need to work on automation. Today you have platforms like Google and even platforms like Claude can help you automate this whole process. And today a lot of brokers use something called vibe coding, where they use very little coding to automate things. And that can make a massive difference. Now this is a very important step that brokers completely miss out on. Brokers work very well to try and generate leads. And we know not all leads will convert immediately. There'll be customers who say, I'm looking for a property, and they might come back 3 months, 6 months down the line. Now you need to nurture that customer. And that's when AI will help you generate these leads as well as nurture them. Today I use a platform called Colibri. Colibri helps me send out specific newsletters to the customer based on the type of inquiries they ask. Say for example, if somebody asks you a question around joint borrower, sole proprietor, newsletters will be very focused towards that. And that's something that AI does for me while I sleep. So that helps me nurture those customers. So it can be 3 months or it can even be a year from now. The customer would have had enough emails and correspondence for them to remember me and they won't do another search a year down the line. So now let's move on to the paid leads. Today we have platforms like Meta which control Facebook as well as Instagram. You have TikTok. We also have platforms like Google who have their own AI to help you with automating your advertisements. So if you are very specific and you give the correct prompts, it will help you generate advertisements. Because we all know advertisements can be expensive if you don't program this properly. So you no longer have to focus on keywords, because platforms like this will help you generate those and be very specific to your niche, trying to find that niche customer and making sure your ad spend is kept at minimum in generating these leads. So now let's put everything into autopilot mode. So we generated leads from Facebook and other social media platforms. We generate leads using our website. All this information should come to your CRM. And from that CRM, you should be having an automated call which books appointments. And in that instance, we use something called AutoBook. And once that's done, about 20% of the customers, we should be able to work immediately. And what about that 80% where we spend a lot of effort trying to generate that lead? You need to nurture that customer. Again, that's in the autopilot mode, where it will start sending newsletters and various other communications. And once in a while, AI will call the customer as well to make sure that they are still looking for a house and their priorities hasn't changed. So all of that can be automated. And for people who want to take one more step further and generate leads which they can work on immediately and happy to spend on AdWords, I would suggest that you use a platform like Claude, which connects platforms like Facebook and Instagram and various other platforms where you can have automated lead generation without you being involved and making sure those leads work while you sleep. And before we close, I want to give you a few warnings. We are FCA regulated firms, so therefore we need to make sure that the information we generate from these customers are compliant with GDPR and various other data protection regulations. So make sure that this information doesn't go into other platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude. So we need to make sure that we maintain customer confidentiality, because that's paramount in our industry. And also make sure that the advertisements that you run, it can be paid or non-paid, it complies with the regulations of the FCA. So remember to have things like health warnings that you put at the bottom, because these are going to be very, very important, and you can program AI to generate this for you today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you very much. And if you are interested to find out what are the best tools out there for mortgage brokers, you can look at this video which appears on top. And this is Iftikhar signing off. Thank you very much.